Hi guys, it's me Mitch and welcome back to another video. This video is quite personal. Okay, well, let's be real, most of them are quite personal, but this is a topic I feel like I went through for a very long time. So I wanted to share with you guys 5 things that I find just make sense when you grow up fear-based. Quick disclaimer though, first of all, this fear has nothing to do with any kind of phobias. Second, I was never physically abused. I grew up in a pretty normal household. I just grew up with parents that didn't know how to attend to their own emotional well-being, so kind of projected that onto me. That kind of made me grow up more fear-based and just not having any sense of self-worth, etc., etc. Anyway, to the part of growing up fear-based and all the points. So the first thing I realized is that for so long, I always thought that for something good to happen, something bad had to happen in return. So for instance, if I was able to go and spend time with my friends, which was something amazing and something good, especially growing up, I could never truly enjoy it because I would always think that something bad would happen. I felt like, okay, well, now that I'm having this good thing, which is hanging out with my friends, I will get yelled at when I get home because, I don't know, I forgot to clean the dishes. So this always ran through my mind. I felt like I could never really enjoy the good moments because I was like, well, it doesn't matter anyway because something bad's gonna happen because I deserve this. That's another weird thing. I used to think that I would deserve it because no sense of self-worth. The second thing I realized was that I was always very fearful for my loved ones' well-being and my own, but actually more so my loved ones. And I would constantly fear that someone close to me and someone that I love would die unexpectedly, and yeah, just something awful would happen. And I guess I would also think that way about myself. For so long I always felt like something horrible was gonna happen to me and I would just die young, which is so weird. I guess I sometimes still have that and I'm working through it. I'm not exactly sure why I have this. I have some theories to it, but I'm just trying to work through the feelings rather than rationalizing it constantly. But yeah, I was constantly fearful for the people that I loved and their lives. Nowadays, I kind of try to trust that everything's gonna be okay and also just try to enjoy the moment that I do have with them, even though of course it is very scary, especially if you live far away from your parents and your family and the people that you love. It took me a while to get here to kind of trust that everything's gonna be fine. That's just life. If something happens, it happens, but I need to enjoy what I have now. The third thing that I used to have is that I would think that everyone was constantly mad at me. And this led me to just overanalyzing every situation, overanalyzing anything that anyone said. I just couldn't be at peace because I felt like something was always off with a person. To some degree, I felt like it was a good thing that I could sense that because then I could ask the person like, hey, is something up? Like, talk to me. But, a lot of the times it was my own fear and anxiety and at the end of the day, that just wasn't true. And then I would end up, annoying people because I constantly asked them like, hey, is there something wrong? And this happened a lot in relationships, and I would always think that someone was pissed at me, but it just wasn't the case. And I would just overanalyze and feel like I embarrassed myself, or I kind of messed up in some way, and I just could not sleep peacefully at night because of it, even though this person probably doesn't even remember the conversation that we had, or I don't know, just doesn't remember that tiny detail that I did in that moment that I found so embarrassing or whatever. This of course then led me a lot to people pleasing because every time I thought someone was mad at me, I just could not stand that, and yeah, I couldn't bear the thought of someone just not liking me. The fourth thing that I used to have, and I wouldn't really say this about sports because I feel like with sports it was a different case, but the fourth thing is that I sometimes just would never try out things because I would instantly think that I would fail. And it was really bad, especially in the more academic parts of my life, because I would just end up thinking, what's the point? I would be so afraid of failing that I wouldn't even try. I mean, granted, of course, there were many factors to, me and education all around, but this was also one of them, and it was a big one, so I didn't even end up trying, and I would be like, ugh, it's fine, whatever. I would end up thinking like, I don't like school anyway, or I don't like uni anyway, it's not for me, and then I would just never try, even though internally, I was just terrified all the fucking time. I mean, all the freaking time. So yeah. And the last thing that I used to have, or I think I still have this, but I guess now I have better tools to try and get through it, and it has to do with feeling like the world is gonna end. First of all, I'm gonna explain how it feels like. For me, it usually comes up when I'm in a eating setting with people. Eating setting as in, like having breakfast together or having lunch together. And it's not just some random eating session or like eating and watching a movie together or something like that. But for me, it really comes up during like breakfast time for some reason. And if I'm with a group of people, even if it's people that I don't know or I'm not really close to, I'll have this like weird wave of anxiety that will wash over me, and it feels really heavy. It kind of feels like something's weighing down on me, and it's like pushing my tummy area down in some way. It feels like everything just will disappear and I'll be left alone. And I used to not understand it, and it would make me spiral so much in that moment, and I'd freak out. And now I get it, because I mean, when I was younger, my mom, she left for a bit because she had to figure herself out. I've forgiven her, everything's fine, my mom and I are fine, but that had a big impact on me because it manifested in this way where I feel like everything around me will just disappear. This is just my own theory on this, I don't know if this is the case, but I feel like that might be it. Now that I'm more aware of that, I can kind of, remind myself that I'm safe. It's an old fear that I have, and yeah, it's just not present anymore. It's not happening right now. And it took me a long time to really work through that, and I think that last point is still something really hard for me. It's weird because you would think that this feeling would happen more when I would be around my own family, but actually it happens more, the more random the people are around me, the worse it is. So yeah, those are 5 things that make sense to me when you grow up fear-based. I feel like I've worked through most of them. The 5th one is definitely something that, as I've mentioned, is still kind of hard for me, but otherwise it's nice to be on the other side of it all. Anyway, thank you for listening, guys, and I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope you guys have a lovely week. It's sunny where I am, and I hope it's sunny there, and happy healing. Bye.